DicePouch.com, premier custom dice bags for the tabletop gamer. Your inner geek wants out. Featured sponsor of Gamers Table.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Table, discussion of tabletop role-playing games and other topics related to the gamer subculture. Be warned, this show may contain some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike.
This is Mark. This is Dan.
This is Shannon.
This is Dave.
This is Jason.
And I'm Sean.
I don't know.
Hello, Jason.
What are we talking about this week, Eric?
This episode we are going to talk about bards.
So this is a class episode because we don't have any.
Right,
So
we have
we're
no
gonna
class
talk
and we have to talk about.
Oh,
What?
so there's a couple bards sitting at the table right now, I think.
Cultured.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I've played many bards.
I think he was saying we don't
Never
have
in my life
class.
have I ever seen you play a bard. I call nay.
Gideon the Trickster was a bard,
I don't
wasn't
think
he?
Sean could spell bard.
Gideon the Trickster was whatever you say he was at the time.
He was a bard.
Guys, I found my bard joke.
Oh.
I did
Save
research.
it. Save
Okay.
it.
What's a bard?
For those who don't play fantasy games, a bard is essentially an entertainer. Especially in D&D, they can do things like they can inspire confidence and give bonuses. They're essentially a buff class.
Yes.
Like also kind of a jack of all trades.
I think originally, wasn't
yeah.
it in originally in D&D, the bard was kind of a jack of all trades.
That's where their bardic knowledge came from, right? Because they'd done a little bit of
They had-
everything.
How far back are we talking?
Right.
Like first edition.
Ooh, Mike, all right,
Okay.
do tell.
First edition bards were essentially a prestige class. You had to qualify to get in. You had to
needed
have
the stats.
Oh,
Right.
kind of like a paladin.
Yeah,
even
that's-
worse.
It was even worse than the paladin.
Yeah, it was.
Oh wow!
Paladin had some major stat requirements too. So what were the requirements to be a bard then, Mike?
Well, I just happen to have them right here.
Really?
Aha, somebody comes from
Imagine
here.
that.
Interesting.
Strength, wisdom, dex, and charisma, all 15.
Wow.
Wow.
Intelligence 12 and Constitution 10. Plus, there was a lot of hoops you had to go through. You had to be a 5th level fighter. Then you had to dual class as a thief up to 5th level. Then you became a bard.
Wow.
That's hell of a
Look at
thing.
that first edition D&D, way ahead of its time.
Well, it's just, and then by third edition you could do it from the very beginning.
Well, yeah, it was
Well,
just
you know.
another class.
But I mean, what was the original basis for a bard? I mean, was there the bards of old and of folklore and things like that? They were very, very like worldly people, and
But
so-
not necessarily fitting to a group. I love the idea of a bard. I want to play a bard. I like the idea of a role of a bard, but I've never thought that a guy singing next to you or playing a flute next to you really made any sense in D&D. What it always reminds me of is Sir Robin's minstrel following
Yes.
him around.
I was about to say that.
And it just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. I don't want to be
Right.
that guy. But I would like to be a buff
Crazy
class who's not
things
necessarily a
happen.
cleric.
right,
Right.
It's funny that I mean, I know what you're talking about. I think of Sir Robin's minstrels also, but there's also cases of bards and other stories and things like that I've seen. One that comes to mind is not musically, but oratory. And that's Chaucer from A Knight's Tale.
Oh yeah,
Wow, let's not talk about that.
I knew you'd say that.
he's the best part of that movie.
But he's not.
Agreed.
It's a one and done. He's like, I do my thing and then I'm gone. He's not actively participating in anything else that's going on.
I think another role of the bard is to chronicle what everybody's doing. Have we ever seen a bard truly played correctly as it was intended?
Hey,
Guys.
I've played two bards awesomely.
I'm going to play a bard correctly. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to write down everything everyone's doing, and then I'm going to sing it back to you.
Well, see, that would be, yes. I mean, because I've played for however many years, and I've never had a person playing a bard actually sing at the table.
That's because I've played the bards and I've got a voice like a bullfrog in a blender.
Well, but again, is it singing? Is it playing music? I mean,
It doesn't have to be
well,
singing.
It doesn't have to be.
No, right.
It could
That's
just
what I'm
be-
saying.
It could just be storytelling.
I think that the way D&D has branded a bard has done it a great disservice, because one of the main things I think of is we'll put this in terms of Warhammer, is your musician keeping you in step, keeping everyone in time.
Right. If you're
or
marching.
or a bugler. I mean, these were important roles on the battlefield. But that does not translate to the way D&D does.
Well, on a battlefield, I think it's completely different because musicians in a battlefield back then were used, like you said, to stay in formation or to rally or to distribute.
But it was a
orders.
source of inspiration. If your bugler is gone, if your drummer is gone, the tide of the battle could be turning.
Well, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, since you were at least briefly a tanker when you were in the Army. Did you guys not listen to music in the tank?
No.
You didn't at all?
Not us, no. But I mean, there are those that have.
I guess I have this romantic notion in my head of
My first
the guys
sergeant-
listening to heavy metal
It's not a
while
Scorsese
they're,
movie.
while they're blasting the cannon,
No, but my first sergeant was Scottish, and we marched to the bagpipes everywhere we went. So,
That would be depressing.
yeah, well, they knew who we were when we were coming, though.
What's that screech?
Right.
There was no surprise attack
He
from
even
you
wore a
guys.
kilt.
Pipers in those days, they were very important.
Sure.
I think the Bard kind of mixes some of these things together. The inspiration is through, for the battlefield.
Sure,
battlefield
like your
musicians.
William Wallace, we'll take our freedom, that. I mean, that to me that's a bard right there. He's rallying his troops. He's inspiring people.
Why is it always the Bard's responsibility? Why are they the only ones who can inspire?
Well, that was changed in the newer editions of
Yeah,
D&D, and everybody cried foul and complained about it, right? I mean,
There was
or by everybody, I mean Mike.
there was something called it was a fighter class. It was either
Warlord.
Warlord
Was the
Oh,
buffer
in
inspired.
4th edition.
Yeah,
well, it was in one of the later 3.5 supplements as well.
Which one would that
Mike.
be?
Pass.
Pass. Okay, really good. Why?
You
Okay,
didn't do
why,
that much research.
Why do we not see these type of classes in other games? We don't have a bard in Shadowrun.
There is in 40K. Or not in 40K. There is in
Warhammer Fantasy.
Absolutely there is.
The Entertainer.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because
Again, fantasy.
I'm glad you brought up other games because I was trying to think of what other games have this kind of jack of all trades or entertainer and things like that. And the one that popped into my head was Star Wars. Deuce played an entertainer that was a force sensitive entertainer
Better
who was
than any
who was
Jedi.
better than any Jedi that was at the table, or even any Jedi that you encountered. A
And
lot,
we found out that the stun baton was way better than a lightsaber too.
right? Because it has dual effects.
Right. There's dual
Right.
effects. Leave it to Deuce. Thank you, Deuce.
I think a bard doesn't. I mean, you don't have to be a singer. You could be, like Dave said a second ago, a storyteller, a poet. Your bard could be somebody who paints.
Right.
If you specify what your.
I don't know if a painting would really work. It's like you're not going to.
No, but you see what I'm saying, though. It doesn't have to be. It's an artist. It's
The
you're-
Bard is Shakespeare.
Right.
Right.
Could your bard be the keeper of important information? Going back to the storyteller aspect, could he be the keeper of information that is pertinent to different locations? Like, you're going up to this area. Well, what is the history of this area?
Yeah, that's
Right.
bardic.
That's
Yeah,
your bardic knowledge.
what that is what they're saying is bardic knowledge. It's an ability that bards have in D&D to have just basic knowledge of whatever.
Any random
Oh, okay.
bizarre
For the
thing.
DM to give you
Right.
a nugget of information.
And that's based on the fact that bards are supposed to travel all over and entertain and pick up all this info.
Cool. As a new gamer, I just made that up. So
That's logical.
Well, and I think
Sweet.
the bard in a group could be your trouser snake. Your
Well, absolutely, absolutely.
The
What
guy
if it was a woman?
Your rake.
That
or
would not work out so well for her.
trouser. What would that be? I don't know.
Just stop.
Just stop right there.
Stop.
I always wanted to play with somebody who was playing a bard who was like a natural poet or something like that. I always thought that would be very interesting.
Always talking in rhyme.
Whatever, or just
Poems don't have to rhyme, Mike.
Or rapping.
Like a Shadowrun bard would be like
Yeah,
an
it'd
inner
be-
city
be a rap
old
artist.
or
school
just
rapper.
just an inner city musician or whatever.
Bucket drummer.
Yes,
Yes. I'm liking this.
a troll bucket drummer.
Yes.
It wouldn't be a bucket.
barrel
It'd be
drummers at that
trash
point.
cans.
It'd be like a 50-gallon.
yeah, oil drum.
an auto-tuned bard.
I think the Shadowrun. I think that's a cool idea. I'm confused as to why nobody's ever tried it.
Well, because
I mean,
well, Mike
you could be
kinda
a
did.
you could be a buffing mage, or a buffing street shaman, and that's like how you manifest. But like
Sure.
as far as a class goes, it's just not there.
I do seem to recall somebody playing a Decker, or maybe it was somebody who was playing the Rigger for Shadowrun, and they supplied music while we were on runs because we were all tapped into the same mics and line, to communicate with one another, and it was like a soundtrack running in the background.
Far be it from me to bring up old stuff, but we cannot talk about Bards without talking about what you guys did at Gen Con.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Out
yeah.
yourselves, you bunch of
All right, so we
dicks.
did a Living Greyhawk
RPGA event.
And yes, Mike was involved too, as he covers his eyes in shame.
Peer pressure's a bitch.
We decided,
More telling for everyone who wants to know.
we decided that as a lark, we would all play bards in this event.
And
Were
let's
you guys a
preface
boy band?
That's a very good question. No, but I wish I would have thought of that. No,
This year.
this year,
We
yes.
were all based on like 80s hair metal.
Yes, I remember my character's name.
and it was.
Clover David Dale.
That's the best
That's right,
name
Clover
Mike
David
has
Dale.
ever come
Yes.
up with in the history
I
of
was
Mike
the
thinking.
I was the dwarven drummer named Ozzy Wordred.
I don't remember my name, but I was a gray elf based on Yngwie Malmsteen.
I'm pretty sure I was a halfling.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Dave, whenever you're playing a convention game like that, it's a living campaign means that people have their characters.
and they take it very seriously,
Yes.
and they shit all over
Well,
that.
they take their characters very seriously, and you can go to different events, different conventions, and use the same character.
Yeah.
So, experience you earn at, let's say, Gen Con, you could go to a local con, and you have the certificates saying, "I earned this, I earned that," and you could play that exact same character wherever you go.
Oh, okay.
So we went to the rally area.
So we're just and most groups are like groups of 5 or 6 playing a game.
Well-rounded.
Well, very well rounded. They're always like standing there, like, okay, what are you? What are you? What are you? Okay, we need a fighter over here. Somebody playing a fighter, that kind of stuff. So everybody kind of grouped off into their groups, and we're standing there, and the only other guy left is standing there, and he's like, okay, can I join you guys? And we're like, yeah, sure. He's like, so what do you guys? Or he's like, what are you? And
Our first answer was, "We're the band."
yeah, we're the band. And he's like, huh? And he's like, well, what do you mean? And we're like, we're all bards. And he was like,
Then he started looking. He was trying to
started
find
looking-
another group.
find another
to play
group
with.
because he was playing a wizard. So
Oh, God.
You had 4 or 5 entertainers and 1 wizard, and none of us had any combat ability. So we were sending the wizard out front to fight because we couldn't really fight.
Wasn't he
But we
also,
were all buffing him.
Yeah, but
Yes.
he was higher level than you, too.
He was like 2 levels higher than
Yeah.
we were. Yeah. So that's a
And
I'd say-
if I recall correctly, he had a good time. We kept him entertained.
whenever there was like a combat situation, we would surrender
Yeah.
or
Can
we
you
would
imagine
run
being
away.
that GM? Like, what the hell?
Well, the
is
GM,
this?
the GM was like, I've never seen anything like this before. Well, that
I
kind
picked
of
the wrong day to quit drinking.
Right. Sniffing glue. That exemplifies how goofy we can be sometimes. But convention gaming is a completely different thing. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to explain what the significance of that was. But because you walk up to a group of players and you take your character very, very seriously and you say, well, what are you guys playing? We're all bards. You're probably not.
And we didn't want to split up either.
right.
That's one of the band.
Right.
You should have looked for another bard and been like, no, you're a wizard. I need a bard.
Well, see,
And then Shannon comes along and she's Yoko and it's all over.
right. Damn, Yoko.
Yoko.
No, but
Yoko, the Green Ranger.
The thing about that is,
Blue Ranger.
a lot of times you have people taking their characters very seriously, but you also don't have a whole lot of buff type characters. It's usually all fighters, thieves, wizards. Very few.
The 4 basic classes.
Right.
What's a buffed character?
A buff character is like in a video game, like a multiplayer video game, someone who like gives you bonuses to fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what a bard is.
Yeah.
Is a character that gives the group or individuals bonuses to fight or bonuses to do things.
Yeah.
That's what their inspiration does. Or they take away, give penalties, I should say,
Yeah.
to the opponents
They're
by
a
demoralizing.
great role players game, or they're a great role players group class because with their bardic knowledge, they fill that niche that really can help move stories along and help figure things out. If your focus isn't on fighting all the time, they can really help you.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
And that's why I think if you were to play a group of all one class, Bard would be the most interesting and deep
Well,
way to
yeah,
do
because
it.
I totally agree with
you have fighting ability, you have some thief abilities,
Right.
and you have
You're smarmy,
you're smarmy, you
smarmy,
have
charismatic.
you have
a little bit of magic.
a little bit of magic.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, bards can use most magic items without penalty.
Well, that's
Or is that even a problem
That's the
anymore?
old
Not even-
school.
yeah,
See,
okay.
because I do, as we're talking about that, I think it would be really cool. Much like long time ago, we did the